Equanimity Executive, and today I am, starting a series called Woman Empowered, and I have really the pleasure to welcome Isabelle Chauffeton Saavedra. She will be our guest today, and she will talk about success, consciousness, and life. And she will also talk about her news because she just, released a new book. And it will be really interesting to learn a little bit, more about Isabelle. And I hope that you will feel empowered leaving this broadcast. So, hi, Isabelle. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's actually even more a pleasure because I know what we're going to talk about is very important, whether you're a woman or a man. It's all about transitioning consciousness and achieving your dreams. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yes, exactly. This is really the purpose of this series. It's really to be able to inspire people and to make the transition that they want in their life. Being a woman today, it's really something that it's as well powerful. We have many roles, certainly like men, but we have to have many roles. And I want this year to be able, to share with empowered women what makes them successful and what made them make the transition that make them happy and help them to go to the next level. So, Isabelle, tell me a little bit, more about yourself.
Well, if we start a little bit in the background, I'm originally French. I was born in France. I was born to a what I call a healthy, skeptic, scientific father and a rather sensitive mother. I first studied math and physics, and then life had other purpose, other idea for me, and I basically transitioned from math and physics to tourism and turned my life around. And from that point, I realized very quickly, being in France, that I would get what I want only by being creative and moving forward for myself. So I created my first company at 26 years of age. It was an event planning company. It was based between France and South Africa. And then from that point, I was hunted by some people to create a subsidiary company in the US for them, which I did. Quickly realized that being in between, at that point, a men's world was going to be a little difficult. I had some issues about making decisions and having the mother company being ruled by men telling me that I could not make decisions. So at that point I said, it's fine, you can have it your way, but I'll have it my way. And I left that company and created, definitely this time, my very own company without any partners, by myself. Still in the event planning business, dealing with a lot of Fortune 500 companies doing their event all over the United States. My clientele was coming from mostly France and Europe. So I was in the corporate world for many years, but while having this life, which was at this point totally incompatible with family or anything like that, I still had a passion. When I was a kid, I was very passionate by the universe. I always was looking up in the sky, asking myself a lot of questions. And my dad, the scientist, had some answers, but not all of them. My mom, the intuitive person who believed in God, had other kind of answers, but they were not really making sense for me. So I was in between these two worlds, and what really fascinated me was the question about what happens when we die. And I basically, all these years, though I was a very dynamic, go-getter kind of person, type A, I still had in the back of my mind all these questions and interrogations, and I was fascinated by the idea that there's no way that life is just the way it is and that's it.
Okay.
So I started reading and studying a lot of that by myself.
Okay, so let me ask this because you shared a lot of information now, and I am, really fascinated about the transition that you were able, to make, and I want people to understand exactly how it did happen. So, what was the tipping point for you to decide to go to your passion and really to decide to live it?
Well, it was a very gradual thing from, let's say, age 20 to age 30, 35. I was really into the corporate world, but I had many experiences, personal experiences, rather difficult for me to understand, and I talk about them in my book. And one of them, the one that made me really think that I had to do something with what I was feeling and sensing, being sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
was a man that committed suicide that I had no idea who he was, and I just saw him for like 5 seconds, and I knew he was going to do it. And I was in the office in Paris, and I just told my friends, this guy is going to jump, and they all looked at me like, are you out of this world, or what's
Mm-hmm.
wrong with you? And 2 hours later, I heard a big noise, and I knew immediately that that's what he had done. That was him. The noise was him hitting the ground. And from that point, I knew there was much more to consciousness, to the way we feel things, and I knew that I had to do something with it, but I had no idea how and what to do with it. I
Mm-hmm.
was in my
Yeah.
20s. It took me 20 years to gradually understand, grasp, learn, and find the calling. Like, what can I do with that? What can
Mm-hmm.
I do? And if I cannot do anything with it, what's the point? So I had to find a way. So I still continued to live my life, but in the back burner, this was always there. And it became gradually stronger and stronger,
Mm-hmm.
stronger to the point where I could not ignore it. And I had to basically make the jump, and I started to try to do readings for friends and family. And then when I realized that I was right on, I was like, maybe I could really work that even more, and what can I do with it? The tipping point was when I met my husband, and I was still in the corporate world, recovering from 9/11 and all the terrible years that we had financially after that as a company, an independent company.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to have children, and I was like, you know what? There's no way I can continue doing what I do as an event planner, because I was always on the planes, always going, anywhere in the world, traveling all the time, never home, no weekends, no, this was my life, which was, there's no way I could, create a family. I wanted to be there for my children, and I was lucky enough to have a husband, still lucky
Mm-hmm.
to have a husband that has a good, a job that we can rely on. And we said, okay, well, let's just make the jump. And I said, okay. So from being in this independent, go-getter corporate gal for like 20 some years, I turned a homemaker in one day. The transition was not easy, I have to admit. From traveling all around the world to stay 24/7 in the house taking care of babies, it's a little, it takes some
Yes.
adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I
Definitely.
realized, wait a minute, I have a passion. So while
Mm-hmm.
I'm at home, I can work on this passion and see if I can make it, you know, get, further. And that's what I did. Each time I had like 5 minutes, I would work towards my passion. I created a website. I started to get in touch with people who actually were researching consciousness, such as doctors, scientists. I did more and more readings. I started
Mm-hmm.
to build up a clientele list of people who wanted to connect with their deceased people, because that's what I do mostly, but I also do other things. And then gradually, I realized that, wait a minute, this is what I'm doing now. And then
Good.
now my children are in school, they're off the house, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do, and there's no way. So for the last year, what I did is I decided to write a book to basically talk about my experience as, during about my life, but also the book is about also trying to bring awareness about what consciousness is about. So
Good.
we'll talk about it a bit later, but this is how I transitioned. And again, it took some adjustment, but today I know I am exactly where I need to be, and I'm very happy.
I am really happy for you too. It's a really fascinating, story. When I am, hearing you explaining where you come from and how you are able, today to say, I am exactly where I need to be. This is really wonderful because we can, feel, the passion, we can feel the love, we can feel all the energy that you want, to share with people. So let me ask you this regarding what you do, because you work a lot with people. What do you bring to them? What do you bring to these people that you are assisting during, your readings and with your book and with the energy that you are able, to share with them?
Well, from all the things that I've learned, today I do believe that our consciousness, what we call our consciousness, our soul, whatever you want to call it, I am actually undoubtedly uh, sure that it's not the product of brain activity.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I take a quick example of a TV, when you watch your TV is on. Imagine the TV is you.
Yes.
You're watching your favorite TV show on the TV, and
Uh-huh.
your TV dies. It's dead. It's broken. Black screen. Does that mean your TV show does not exist anymore? Of course not. The TV show is still broadcast. It's still
Mm-hmm.
out there. It's a signal. It's a wave. It's energy. And that energy is just not picked up by the TV because the TV is dead. But it's
Wow.
still out there. Now,
That's really a great analogy. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, this analogy about the show going on and having, the television, turning, black. It's really a connection that a lot of people don't really make, and I think that, it's a really powerful way to be able, to explain exactly what you do in a simple manner. So terrific. Mm-hmm.
that signal that is out there, whether it is your TV show or your consciousness, can be tapped into by another TV or by another person. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have the ability as human beings using our brain because it's a great tool, even though I don't believe consciousness is the product of the brain is a mere processor. It's like a computer.
Mm-hmm.
It's your motherboard. It takes everything in. It processes all the signals, and it makes you who you are. But if you take away the motherboard, you still have the disk with all the information, with all the data. Again,
Mm-hmm.
the data is out there. We are in a universe of information, and you can tap into this information. Everything around us is energy. Wherever you go, wherever you look, it's pure energy. Whether it
Mm-hmm.
is the light up from the sun, the table your computer is on, the chair you're sitting on, deep down to the core of each atom of everything that you see in the universe is energy. And this energy never dies. It's a physics law. Energy doesn't die. It just morphs. It transforms itself from one
Mm-hmm.
type of energy to another. So based on that, there is absolutely no reason why we cannot apply what we see in the quantum world to the outside world, the bigger world, the Newtonian world. And I think that um, that's what I talk about in my book. I bring physics concept to try to explain why we are so connected, and at the same time why our body is just a tool
Mm-hmm.
that our consciousness is to manifest. So
Good.
that's why it's completely possible. It's not a gift. Someone who claims to be a psychic medium with a gift, to me, I laugh because it's not a gift. We all have it. We're all born with a brain that can do the work. Now, of course, it's like being a pianist. Everybody can, tap on a
You have to
piano and play.
practice. Mm-hmm.
But
You have to
if you
practice.
practice, you
Mm-hmm.
can become a really good pianist. Same with what I do. If you practice and train your brain to receive information, to analyze it, there's a process that I work with that we can talk a
Mm-hmm.
bit later. But everybody can do it. Everybody. Now,
So this
I
is,
just
what you
chose.
explain in your book, Isabelle, God of Consciousness.
That's what I explain in my book. I use life experiences of things that happened to me
Yes.
to explain concepts of physics that I actually bring as hypothesis for consciousness not being the product of brain activity, but being out there as a signal, part of the um, part of the universe, because that's what it is. And I even go further. I believe that one day we will, this theory of everything that all the physicists are trying to find to unify the two physics world, the quantum and
The physical world.
the relativity. Um, this theory of everything that all those physicists are trying to find, I think, lays down to one point, and it's our consciousness.
Good.
So that's what I talk about in the book, but it's also filled with readings and personal anecdotes and personal quests from some of my sitters
Mentors.
who have
Yeah.
accepted to be mentioned in the book. So one of them is a very powerful reading I had with a man who was in a coma. He was
Mm-hmm.
able to give me information about his illness and what he wanted to be done for him to get
Yes.
better,
Uh-huh.
to feel better. He, well, I'm not going to tell the story, but it's there.
Yeah, we want to read the book.
Now, when I do readings with people, most of the people that I do readings for are bereaved people. Um,
Yes.
Whether it's a parent who lost a child, which is the most, probably the most powerful connections that that I can possibly make, or
Mm-hmm.
with it, whether it is someone who wants to connect with a mom or her dad, or an uncle or a friend or a pet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Most of my clients are bereaved people who want to try to establish a connection. So what I do usually is I establish the connection. I have a specific process where I work in a double blind setting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be as scientific as possible to set me apart from the Miss Cleo type of person you see on TV that I really don't associate myself with. I'm not saying they're not real or good. I just don't like the whole
This is
shebang
a
that goes
different,
around it, because I
yes.
believe
You are
that
doing
when
something
you
really
when you're
different.
when you're when you're grief, sometimes people want their grief to be just with in a closed door. They don't have to be on TV and exposed, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's a very personal, very powerful experience that they're going through when they're able to connect. And I think that's very private to me. So
So
yes, I most of the people I do readings for are bereaved people, or lately I've had requests about people who are in a coma, so that's a bit different. But, yeah.
okay, so basically, Isabel, what you do
and, and and
for
and they're looking
people.
for comfort.
Yes, definitely. That's what he wanted, to
But
summarize a little bit for people that are, watching us. Basically, what you do is, bring, people to connect and to get, relief about, some of their loss and some of the questions that they have about what does happen after,
right.
life is ended, and you help them, to be able to get a positive sense of this devastating news when you lose someone in your life, and helping them to understand that energy is everywhere, and that we can still connect one way or another with people, and we can do it. And I feel your energy each time that we are together when we are alive, but there is something else that can happen as well. Correct?
Right. That's correct. Absolutely.
Good. So
Um,
let's, talk about what makes you a successful woman, because this is, really a series that will, assess, women to get, at the same point that you are here, feeling that you are at the right place at the right time, and that you totally love, what you do. So what makes you successful as a woman?
well, I think success has a lot of different faces.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in my 20s, even younger than that, when I was a kid, I was bullied in school. So to me, success was to be able to um, show that show the people who were bullying me that I was actually better than they were. So I was working hard and trying to be better in school, like academically. So the more I was bullied, the more academically I was trying to be better. And
Mm-hmm.
then in my 20s, success for me was about, of course, getting a career and making money and be the best and be recognized and, you know, the whole. And that probably lasted until my mid 30s,
Mm-hmm.
35. Gradually, I realized that success was not measured by the amount of money you had. Of course, money is a tool, but it's just a
Mm-hmm.
tool. But it's not a goal. So I realized that success was really more than that, more than making money, more than being the best, more than being recognized, more than all these, I call that numberlistic kind of um, attitudes. And when really, I think the switching point was when I created my family, because I realized it was really beyond all this.
Mm-hmm.
Success is not measured by all the things that I thought it was in my 20s. Even though we're still trying to make a good life, we're still, if my book doesn't sell, I'll be like, oh, okay, it doesn't sell, but it's not going to kill me. It's not
Mm-hmm.
going to kill me the way it would have killed me. Like um, today, for me, success is being happy. That's all I'm. That's all I'm shooting for. It's
Mm-hmm.
to find this fine line where you know that you can be happy, feel whole, and at the same time fulfill, you know, the happiness of my children, of my husband, of the people around me, my friends. It's just if I wake up in the morning and I'm like I'm happy. I know I'm exactly where I need to be. Again, so to
Yes.
me that is success
Mm-hmm.
today. Success is just doing what I want to do, and I might not make, you know, millions of dollars with this, but you know what? I don't care. I really don't care, because what what matters to me is that I have created something that is in movement and that makes me happy while I'm actually giving back to the people. So that
Great.
is just totally fulfilling. And to me, that is success. So I think people can see success differently. And as a woman, it doesn't really apply to me anymore because I'm kind of off the corporate world. So it's just being successful today is just being whole and feeling the harmony between what I want to be as a woman person
Mm-hmm.
and what I am as a mom. And it's trying to find the fine line and balance between all this. That is success to me. And today I have achieved balance, and that is the ultimate success for me.
That's wonderful, and it's really interesting because what you said, it's not only about age. I think it's also about the goal that you put for yourself. You said that in your 20s and even early on, it was about you, your career, your money, and being successful, being recognized. And today, when you are talking about success, it's about giving back. It's about outside of you. It's nothing, just, for you. It's about things that are, pouring towards, other people. And it's really interesting, to see the transition. And I think it's really important that you're able, to share that and to explain to people that, yes, life is changing and it's part of the process. And wherever you find, yourself, you will be happy with the success that you decide for your 20s, for your 30s, for your 40s. But that you have accepted, the change and accepted that the transition would be, different. And this is, what I feel makes you successful as well. We were, talking a little bit, earlier before the broadcast, when people are hanging to the dream of their 20s because they are still, living in the past and not accepting, the
Right.
transition and the change, and make themselves, sometimes miserable and unhappy and unfulfilled because they are still, living in a success that they have, designed in their 20s that doesn't apply anymore to who they are today and to what, they would be able, to do. So good, good, good. So let me ask you another,
Change is
question.
change is scary, but change is scary. But once you make the jump, it's totally liberating. That's how I feel about change, actually.
Thank you. Thank you
It's
very
like
much for
jumping
sharing
on
that.
stage. It's like jumping on stage and you have the stage fright for like 5 seconds, and then you're there. Okay, so let's just make the best of it.
Yeah, let's do it. And you are talking about stage as well, because you are also a singer.
Well, no, that, you know.
And so it makes, this as well one of your passions. Yes, it's a hobby, but it's also a passion. So that's good. So let's, talk about, our next question. So do you think that women can have it all without a fight today?
Well, again, it's not about. I don't think it's about the fight. You can have it all, but you have to do the your part of the work, and you still have to work for what you want and stick to it. I think that's, you set your goals, you set your limits. You say, okay, I want to be there, I want to do that, but it can't be just a closed environment. It has to be goals and boundaries, but at the same time, you have to open to something else. If you limit yourself to, I want to be there and I'm going to fight to do this, I don't think this is the right thing to do. I think the fight is about fighting the good fight. I don't know if you've ever read books by Paulo Coelho, and he always talks about fighting the good fight.
Yes.
And that's what it is about. It's true. You have to pick your fight. Pick your fight, because if you fight for little things that you think are important, you might just waste your energy. And that's, again, we're made of energy. And when you waste your energy, you deplete it, then you get depressed, then you cannot move forward, and then it's a vicious circle. So you have to pick the right fight. But once you pick the right fight, yes, of course, you're going to work hard for it. But fight in the sense where you have to fight, from between the masculine world and the feminine world. I think we're smarter than that. I think we don't have to fight. I think we need to use what makes us women. For example, we are multitasking. Men are not multitasking. And I'm not, this is no prejudice here. It's true. So we use what we're good at, and we leave, and maybe we just set on the side what we're not good at. So if we pick what we're good at and use it, then it makes us better, and it helps us go through the corporate world, if it is about the corporate world. I think we just need to use what makes us women, and we're more loving, more caring, more intuitive. We use a lot. We're able to do a lot of different things at the same time. So that's why most of the women are able to have a job, take care of the kids, take evening classes, to go back to school, and do all this at the same time. I'm not saying men can't do that, but we have a brain that is literally built for that. So we have to use it.
Yes.
And by using our ability.
Oh, so you just lost Isabelle. Isabelle, are you back? Hello? So we'll wait, for a minute. I think it's maybe a network issue. Oh, you are back? Good. Yeah, I think that, the network was lagging, but it's what happened when we are live, so no worries. So what you were, saying is that, women actually, have, to pick their battles at some point, but that finally you realize that we don't even have, to fight, that today we have different assets and different strengths, and that instead of to fight, to maybe be able, to adopt masculine behavior or masculine strengths, we should, focus on doing what we do the best, and dedicated our energy toward things that we are doing well, instead of to try, to fight at some, other point. So that was really interesting, and this is really how I feel as well with the client that I'm working with. I have been, working for 3 years with women, and at the end of the process, usually it's what they say: why did I, fight, so much? It's not about fighting. It's about finding what is good in me and what I am, good at, and really focusing on this, because this I can, perfect it. When you are, trying to adopt something that you don't have, it's a lot more complicated than just, strengthening something that you have already, and you can, just, become an expert or perfect it or bring that, to a corporate world instead of trying to fight what has been done, in main corporate culture. And like you said, it's not prejudice, it's corporation were built, that way. Today, it's how do you bring, this female vision? How do you bring the multitasking? How do you bring, the caring and the love in organization instead of to try, to just become one of these men leaders to be able, to succeed and to stretch yourself. Good. So now it's time for you to give you a little bit of advice for girls, teens, young women that today wants, to succeed. When I say effortlessly, it's not without working. It's effortlessly without getting, into these fights against things that are not important.
Well, I believe that the only advice I would have would be to follow your guts. We all have intuition, so you
Yes.
have to go with what you feel rather than what you think is right. If you think something's right, most likely that's wrong, basically. That's what I learned when I do controlled remote viewing. It's a technique that actually the American government and the Russian government was using back in the Cold War time, where you try to find, based on just a random number that is given to you, and that is attached to a certain location or photography, you're trying to figure out what's there without knowing.
Yes.
So it's called remote viewing. So it's basically you remote view something at a distance that could be anywhere in the world. You don't know where it is, you don't know what it is, you don't know what's there. And technique is you have, I'm going to be very fast, but I'm going to try to make it very simple as well. We have two brains. We have the left brain and the right brain. Left brain is the one that makes us do what we do now. We're this technical brain, wants to analyze everything because by analyzing it can compare to what he knows, and then we can survive. That's how we
Yes.
survive. We plan, we do everything with technical and logical without left brain. Our right brain is the complete opposite. It's the brain for arts, for music, for intuition. And our right brain doesn't have to analyze. It doesn't feel the need to analyze anything. And the beauty of it is the left brain can only receive about 10,000 bits of information per second. The right brain receives about 1,000,000 bits of information per second. So it has much more information than the left brain, because the left brain could not even take that much information. It would just. So what happens is if we use our intuition, we have access to much more information than we do with our left brain. But if we mix the thinking, we try to interpret something with our own frame of reference that could actually potentially make no sense at all with the type of information we have access to. So the beauty of this is that if you can train yourself, and that by doing meditation, relaxation, you can train yourself to not think, but feel first, you have a better success to get to the right direction, the right point. I worked with a doctor who was an ER doctor for many years, and he told me, when you're in front of someone who's that close of dying, you don't have 15 minutes to make a diagnosis. You have to rely on your gut feeling, because it could be a lot of different things, but you have to rely on what you feel is the right thing. And what you feel is the right diagnosis, you apply. You don't think about it. You don't go through the book like, oh, it might be this, because no, you feel the right diagnosis. So in the corporate world, in whatever we do every day, if we could just use that more than the thinking, I think we would go much further, and it would be much more easier. So that's one thing I would suggest, is really use your intuition as much as you can, and don't try to rationalize every single piece of information that is given to you. And the other one is really go for your passion. And even if you feel that this is so difficult that you don't have the time, that it has to be put on the back burner. It took me 20 years to get where I am. But I still enjoyed the trip. Don't forget the trip. because the trip is part of the initiation. This is how you learn, and without the path you're on, without the trip, that you're enjoying the trip, you won't be able to fulfill the goal, and you won't be able to go to the next level, which is a certain, again, feeling whole with your life. So if you set just a goal and you don't live
The journey.
the
Yeah.
journey, I know it's a bit, as everybody says, but it's true. It's absolutely true. If you don't live the journey, you're not learning, and then you might get to your goal, but
Mm-hmm.
is that going to make you happy? It's basically, what are we all looking for?
Yeah, happiness. It's not
Happiness.
about it's
It's
not
not.
about, yeah, it's not about the goal and where you end up. It's about, yeah, the journey and what you learn and what you're able, to share as well with others and like you said, yeah, passion.
And giving
And
and
passion and
giving back is my last advice. So use intuition, let the passion take the lead, and then give back. Because when you give back, it makes you feel so good. I know
hmm
it could feel, it's actually even a little, um, I think it's weird because sometimes it feels like, wow, I give back so to make me feel good. So it's like, ooh, but hey, you know what? It's an exchange of energy. So
exactly. I
you
love
give,
that.
I give, and then it balances. Again, it's about balancing. So if you
hmm
give and then you receive, there's nothing wrong about receiving. And there's nothing wrong about giving back as well. It's an exchange of energy. So that would be my last advice: is give back any way you can. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to go to a hospital. It could be just in your own house.
Yes, definitely.
Find ways to give back.
Yeah, I think it's, really simple. I think that sometimes we make, think really complicated when we think that we have, to give back. We think about, money. We think about volunteering, and there is, so much more you can, do for your neighbors. You can, just smile to someone and give back every day when you are, going, to work. There is so many things that you can, do to share energy, like you said, with people, to make you feel good and
And
to
it
make
doesn't
the
have
other
to be deep.
people.
You can give back to nature.
Yes.
You can give back to nature. You can give back to anything that is alive.
Exactly, exactly. So I really love, the tips that you have, provided here. I think that it will be really helpful for people. So let's talk about, your book, where we can, find it, and what we can, do to help you and to support you and to support your effort to helping people to feel, relieved, being able, to realize that consciousness is it's real something that will, help them, to live in this life and in other ones, if any. Yeah.
Well, the book, it's called God Consciousness. I don't know if I
Yes.
can even. Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. It's on sale. It's on Amazon.com, and so if you
hmm
type God Consciousness, you'll find it there. I have a website, which is my company is called Survival of Consciousness. So it's
hmm
survivalofconsciousness.com, all in one word. All
Yes.
information can be found there. I have a blog, and from there that you can also go to my Facebook page. There is a little link on my website.
hmm
But really, what I'm still setting goals for myself, and my ultimate goals is to continue what I'm doing, but to really work more with scientists and take it to the next level, turning what I do into. That's why I call myself an experimental psychic medium, because I love to experiment. So I've
hmm
already set a certain process when I do my readings, where it's as double blind as possible scientifically. I explain very quickly. Double blind means when you do a study double blind, it's like neither side know anything about the other.
hmm
So technically, when someone wants a reading for a loved one, all I want to know is their relationship, if it's mom, dad, son, daughter,
hmm
nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. But I also say I don't do readings face to face to avoid the possibility of what people think you would do cold reading your facial expressions.
Yes.
So I never do face to face. If you really insist, I'll do it, but really I prefer to do it not face to face,
Double-blinded. hmm
double blinded, and I basically take a 2 week window from the day you say I want the reading. From I say, okay, I'll do it 2 weeks. but I don't tell the person when I do the reading. So when, there's no way of saying, oh, okay, so maybe when he knows they're connecting that day, so maybe I connected with that person, consciously, not with the deceased person. So the person doesn't know when I did the reading. So it's double blind, both sides. So that's my process. So I want to basically take that process and bring it to the lab, work with doctors. I've already a couple of doctors on board with me. So down the road, what we would love to do is to create a foundation and basically experiment to show that consciousness is really not linked to the brain, that distance and time doesn't matter, like when we follow the rules of the quantum world, that's what we see, and it applies to consciousness. I've experimented it. Time does not matter, distance doesn't matter. It's just basically being into two parallel worlds. One level of consciousness and another level of consciousness in the same space-time reference. So I would like to bring this to the lab. And why do I want to bring this to the lab? Because I think it's probably the most important discovery. I'm just going to be a little tiny stone in this wall, but it's going to be, when this happens for real, it's going to be probably the most important discovery for human beings, to know for sure that we don't die. And that is the ultimate goal. So I know it's not going to be me, but if I can bring my little tiny part of, the puzzle in it, I'll be very happy. And I'm happy to do it, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I could talk about it the whole night.
I know. This is, wonderful to hear you saying that even if it's a tiny, small contribution that maybe it won't, make it during, your lifetime here, you are still, going for it. I have, also met a lot of, women that say, oh, it's too complicated, or it's something that will, take too much time, or it will be, and it means something, to do it. Even if you are, the smallest, contribution to what you bring to this world. I really feel, and I want to encourage every woman to live their passion, because it will definitely bring something to everybody. And if everybody was able to just contribute a little bit, and I am pretty sure that we would make a giant step instead of to do only baby steps. What do you think, Isabelle?
Oh, yes. This is all, to me, well, of course, it's each person has, her different, or his different goals in life, and different themes. I'm in the theme of consciousness and life after death, but so my world is all about compassion and caring and comforting and giving hope, and but I believe we can transpose all these notions even into the corporate world. Because today we cannot work together the way we worked even 10 years ago. Things have changed tremendously. We're in a world where everything is about money and competitiveness, but I can feel that there are some companies that are already opening to bringing the human dimension, the caring dimension. After all, we're human beings working together. That's all we are.
Yes.
So if we don't use our human being attributes, and we're so lucky to have that, the love and the compassion and the caring, and this is an amazing tool that we have.
Yes.
We can achieve much more by being compassionate and caring than being, furious and aggressive. That's, every day you can see that.
Yeah, we have, made the experience for the past, centuries, and apparently it doesn't, bring that much happiness and fulfillment. So, but I am glad that you are, saying that about, the corporate world. I worked, with several companies that are using this kind of tools where we are, bringing even consciousness. It's the level number 7 on the scale, where we are, starting by what had created Maslow, when he decided that we have the physical needs, but we have also the emotional needs, where we need to have recognition, and we needed to have people to love us. And where we were talking about your 20s, it's where you needed to be recognized as a person. And in corporate world, you can, do the same, where yes, at the beginning you have, to be recognized and to build a brand and to build, a credibility. But after that, you have to open up and get, more out there. And that's why there are a lot more companies that are going, through uh, leadership, through love and compassion. So it exists in large corporations today, but also values about, consciousness, and how do you bring that together in big corporation. Volvo is doing it. You have, big corporation here that are, doing it as well. I know that a big major car manufacturer in the United States is getting into this consciousness for the entire corporation. It's a fight for him today, because bringing this in this masculine world, really technical and really scientific, it's challenging, but it brings employees that are people and human beings, like you were saying, this sense of belonging, this sense of fulfillment, and this sense of having, a purpose here, and to bring back and to give back and to be connected to one to another at a higher level, instead of to only focus on our basic needs and center to ourselves.
You said it all.
Good, good, good. So I know that next month you will be signing, your book. So do you want to let us know where it will be and at what time? And I can have, people coming to get, your book and signing, and get, the signing from Isabelle.
Well, there are two events. The first one is with the Vicasa Expo at the end of this month, January 25th and January 26th. I believe their website is vicasa.com.
Yes,
go there and check the dates, and they have like 75. I believe they have 50 workshop and speakers, and they have 75 different booths. It's all related to well-being, health, consciousness, and so like-minded people, and holistic, basically a holistic approach to life.
Yes.
So I don't have my schedule yet for my speaking engagement there, but there will be a speaking engagement during the Vicasa Expo where I will talk about consciousness, and then after that there will be a book signing, and I will do some mini readings there quickly. And then the next date is on February 11th. I'm part of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce of Orlando. It's a nationwide. It is a nationwide organization. And we have a monthly meeting. It happens at the In Spirit Yoga Studio here in Orlando. Again, In Spirit. And you can just swing by if you're not a member, and see if you like it and become a member. And I will be signing books on February 11th at that meeting of that month. Again, it's for the Holistic Chamber of Commerce of Orlando.
Okay, that's perfect. Perfect. So I will be there, at the Vicasa, and I will be there as well on February 11th. And I look, really forward to seeing you there, and to meet as well other like-minded people. I really thank you very much for your energy and for sharing, your passion, giving us also an overview of what you do and how you help people, and how as a woman you have been successful. And I hope that people here will be inspired, and that they will connect with you if they have any question. I will share on my Facebook page and on Google Plus your contact information if people want to share and continue the live chat with you at another time. And next month we will have another speaker, and I will keep you updated. I have other fascinated women that will join us this year, that will focus as well on explaining exactly how they are able to have it all and be happy and feel full and fulfilled in all their way. So Isabelle, I will say you goodbye for today, and thank you so much. And it was Belinda again with Equanimity Executive, and it was a Woman Empowered series, and I see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And turn my life around, and from that point I realized very quickly, being in France, that I would get what I want only by being creative and moving forward for myself. So I created my first company at 26 years of age. It was an event planning company. It was based between France and South Africa. And then from that point, I was hunted by some people to create a subsidiary company in the US for them, which I did. Quickly realized that being in between, at that point, a men's world was going to be a little difficult. I had some issues about making decisions and having the mother company being ruled by men telling me that I could not make decisions. So at that point I said, it's fine, you can have it your way, but I'll have it my way. And I left that company and created, definitely this time, my very own company without any part.
To be able to inspire people and to make the transition that they want in their life. Being a woman today, it's really something that it's as well powerful. We have many roles, certainly like men, but we have to have many roles, and I want this year to be able, to share with empowered women what makes them successful and what made them make the transition that make them happy and help them to go to the next level. So Isabelle, tell me a little bit, more about yourself.
Well, if we start a little bit in the background, I'm originally French. I was born in France. I was born to a what I call a healthy skeptic, scientific father, and a rather sensitive mother. I first studied math and physics, and then life had other purpose, other idea for me, and I basically transitioned from math and physics to tourism nurse myself. Still in the event planning business, dealing with a lot of Fortune 500 companies doing their event all over the United States. My clientele was coming from mostly France and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the corporate world for many years, but while having this life, which was at this point totally incompatible with family or anything like that, I still had a passion. When I was a kid, I was very passionate by the universe. I always was looking up in the sky, asking myself a lot of questions. And my dad, the scientist, had some answers, but not all of them. My mom, the intuitive person who believed in God, had other kind of answers, but they were not really making sense for me. So I was in between these two worlds, and what really fascinated me was the question about what happens when we die. And I basically, all these years, though I was a very dynamic, go-getter.
Equanimity Executive, and today I am, starting a series called Woman Empowered, and I have really the pleasure to welcome Isabelle Chauffeton Saavedra. She will be our guest today, and she will talk about success, consciousness, and life. And she will also talk about her news, because she just, released a new book. And it will be really interesting to learn a little bit, more about Isabelle. And I hope that you will feel empowered leaving this broadcast. So, hi, Isabelle. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's actually even more a pleasure because I know what we're going to talk about is very important, whether you're a woman or a man. It's all about transitioning consciousness and achieving your dreams. So it's going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. This is really the purpose of this series. It's really
Kind of person, type A.
yes.
I still had in the back of my mind all these questions and interrogations, and I was fascinated by the idea that there's no way that life is just the way it is and that's it.
Okay.
So I started reading and studying a lot of that by myself.
Okay, so let me ask this, because you shared a lot of information now, and I am, really fascinated about the transition that you were able, to make, and I want people to understand exactly how it did happen. So, what was the tipping point for you to decide to go to your passion and really to decide to live it?
Well, it was a very gradual thing from, let's say, age 20 to age 30, 35. I was really into the corporate world, but I had many experiences personal experiences, rather difficult for me to understand. And I talk about